Hello there, welcome to Target Radio Podcasts. Yes, we have a podcast for your ears. Every week here on the show, on our live shows that is, we try and get an interesting persons, artists, band members, music, poets, film playwrights. We even get, we'll try and get everyone. We'll try and get everyone that's interested in our genre of music that we portray here on Target Radio. So what we do is sit them down, we have a telephone interview, sometimes a live interview, and we discuss all things in their profession. So stay tuned here. This one is an absolute blast. You're going to love this, and I'll be back at the end to obviously, tell you what's coming up in the very near future. I am the Podfather. I will now tell you that this is Target Radio Podcasts. Don't forget to check us out on iTunes, and if you think we deserve it, don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating. That would be rather nice. Thank you very much indeed. So, over to me. Sit tight and enjoy. This is Target Radio. 5
Sunday.
4
Sunday.
3
Sunday night.
2
in his Sunday best.
1
Sunday.
Go. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
Dear God in heaven, please let this show go okay, with no major boobs or goofs, or is it goofs? Please don't let me tread all over the intros of records, or say a naughty word.
So let's have fun.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the show. Hello, 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 welcome to the show.
Lock it on to the best station on the net.
First we take a groovy record, then we add a super sound DJ.
Oh, Sean Kirk.
The big DJ. The big DJ.
When do I get my badge?
Very, very soon. Hello, welcome. It's Sunday evening. Many thanks to Peter Slavid for his jazz hour. Last one of the year. I've got to say, he's playing some really good stuff. Anyway, he'll be back next week with his best ofs, or, his favourite ofs. I think that's what he went. Anyway, on to tonight then. But just before we do that, my apologies for all of those that tuned in last week. I have no idea what went on. Well, I sort of did, but it didn't happen. I started broadcasting and it all went... Yeah, it went... like that. And it stopped. It just stopped then. So my apologies for those who tuned in last week and heard loads of great music. I must say, I was sitting here for an hour and a half trying to get back on broadcasting, but it never, ever worked. It wasn't my end in the end. It was the platform that I use, and it wasn't me, so I'm blaming somebody else. Enough of that. Of course, our very special guest back then was none other than Dave Riley. We'll get Dave back, I promise we will. But we've got a full schedule ahead of us for this month. Coming up, we've got Sid from the TR5s. He's coming up on the 27th. Before that, we've got Bruno Galloon from The Reaction. The mighty, the brilliant Carl Morris. He's on next week. But this evening, we've got none other than a champion of great music, Mr. Steve Lima. He'll be on with us around about 7:30 this evening. Unless obviously it goes... Anyway, we're going to play some great music. We've got Sons of Morning. We've got The Screens to Deep Six. And something from the Style Council as well. But of course, if you are a regular listener here at Target Radio, we have got this lot. Yes, The Who. Okay. Don't forget, we've got none other than Steve Lima on with us around about 7:30 this evening. We're going to be chatting to him, finding out all about what he does for the music business. Because I'll be honest with you, I've only done a little research on Steve, and I know, well, like usual, I don't know an awful lot. So I'm going to be asking the questions that anybody else may decline to ask. The important ones, like what you're having for your Christmas dinner, you know, those sort of things. He's listening right now, I know that for a fact, so he's probably jotting it down. How do you spell turkey? T-U... Anyway. So, Steve Lima on with us around about 7:30 this evening. Now, we've got some exciting news to tell you. Target Radio is, officially going to be a lot bigger next year. That's right. Shall I tell you more? Do you want to know more? Well, of course you do, but I'm not going to spill the beans quite yet. But look out for Target Radio. It's going to be huge! Okay, I've been talking to Simon James, Cordy, who's been digging it deep and keeping it real all through the pandemic. And we were talking yesterday just via Messenger. And he's asked me if I could play one of his songs. Of course I can, Simon, no problems at all. He was a great guest last year. Or was it this year? I don't know. I'm sure it was last year. He was talking to me in his van, if I remember rightly. Check out the podcast. And that reminds me, the newest podcast has been released now onto iTunes. So if you subscribe to Target Radio on iTunes, it'll appear there like magic. And this week is with the lovely Nikki Weller. Okay, shall we play something from Simon James then? And this is his rendition of Behind Blue Eyes. I've just been reading something from Steve here, and apparently he's put on here that it'll be full of Sunday roast pie now, and full of cheer. Better go steady on the wine, though. Yes, we don't want none of those naughty words, okay, Steve? Now, I've had a few people come up to me and say, you know that drum solo you put on every time you interview somebody? And I say, yes. Can we ask, who is that drumming? Well, and I will let you know right now. It's birthday boy himself, Mr. Rick Buckler. I first got the idea of putting something underneath while we're having a chat when I first interviewed Rick Buckler many, many years ago. And I said to Rick, is it all right if I use some of your drumming just to put underneath us while we're having a chat? And he said, I didn't even know it was me. Absolutely true. I even had a drum quiz with him and he couldn't even get himself. Anyway, many happy returns to Rick Buckler, who turned 65 today. My goodness me. He doesn't look it. Anyway, on to special guest then. And hopefully, like I say, I'll tell you this every single week. This is the part when I get extremely nervous. Here we go. We're ringing. Hopefully he's not had too much wine. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. Or perhaps he doesn't know how to use this thing. Do we have Steve Lima on the other end of this? Hello,
Sean.
Steve, how are you?
I'm cool, mate.
Oh,
Very
brilliant. Do you know, all of my guests get one of these.
Hey.
There we go. There's 200 of them. They're all social distancing in the back garden. How are you, Stevie? How you doing?
Very well. We're not social distancing so much here. I'm in Portugal. We're fairly unaffected, so it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Still doing gigs. I did a gig yesterday.
Fantastic.
So, you know.
Do you know something? You sound like you're just next door. In fact, I'm just having a look out the window. It just sounds like you're next door to me. Really clear line. That is fantastic.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah, indeed. So how's Portugal? Obviously, apart from the unaffected coronavirus side of things. I mean, what's the weather like out there, first and foremost? Go on.
Not great today, actually. It was a little bit dull. We've had a lot of rain, but we need rain because we need the dams filling up before the summer because
Of course.
we run out of water. So,
yeah.
you know, It's changeable in the winter, but
Indeed.
it's a very pleasant place to be.
Oh, we hate you already.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, that's okay. I think we've just gone into minus at the moment, as in I think it's about -1 out here in Lincolnshire. And
gosh.
I know, I'm sitting here and I'm absolutely shivering. I've got the heater on and oh my goodness me. Anyway, enough about me, enough about our horrible, dreadful, unappreciated weather that we seem to have. And we had snow as well just a couple of days ago. Can you believe that?
Well, believe it or not, we had snow on our local mountainette, I can only call it, called Monchique, which isn't terribly large, but it had a coating of snow this morning, and that's for big news on the Algarve.
Indeed, absolutely.
that's
Snow in
exclusive.
Portugal. Come on, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's like an inch, man. You know, it's nothing. It's nothing. You couldn't ski on it.
no, indeed. I don't think you could ski on ours either. It was just more of a dusting, as they call it over here. So
exactly.
I'll put my skis away. Apart from that, I can't ski. Right, okay. On to what what we're here for. Really, is to find out a bit more about you, Steve, and what you do in sort of like the music business. I mean, you play as well, don't you?
Yes, I started as a player. I started as a bass player. Yeah.
Okie dokie. And is it true what they say about bass players that are all miserable people? You don't sound very miserable.
No, I'm not miserable, man. Well, if you're in a band, all of the members of the band have characteristics, you know.
Yes.
Bass players, I would always remember, have smelly feet, me included at the time.
No.
But, you know, brass players are always in the pub. I even had that problem yesterday, so it still goes on. No, I started as a bass player, but I play guitar and keyboards and drums, but I've been a producer, basically, for 40-odd years.
Wow.
That's what I've been doing.
Excellent. And who was the first sort of band or artist that you produced back then?
Oh, well, I started in a punk band called The Members, and, you know, they went on to have a little bit of success, and it got me my first sort of royalties from Mr. Branson, actually.
Wow. Good old Rich.
Yeah, well, at the time, I met him one night, you know, at Wardour Street, a Martha and the Muffins gig.
Oh, wow.
And I was talking to him for about 15 minutes, and I hadn't a clue who he was. And one of the girls from publishing came over after us and said, "What did you think of Richard?" I said, "He's a nice lad. Where does he work?" You know, there you go. But I got into engineering kind of after that. I kind of recognised that being in a band, you can easily get labelled. I could have been the ex-bass player of The Members for the rest of my life. And I've seen it happen to a few guys. We're talking about Rick Buckler then. You know, Rick, great drummer. He'll always be the drummer from the Jam.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't matter if he turns into the greatest producer or he writes film music. You know, it doesn't kind of matter.
No.
And so I thought I really wanted to get into production eventually. So I went in and learned the ropes and made coffee for a few weeks, and then got on to being a tape operator and a second engineer, then an engineer. And then eventually you get asked to produce records if you're competent enough.
Indeed. Now, you just mentioned a band that we sort of, some of us may know if you're of a certain age, The Members. Now, I think they hailed from where I used to live, down there in Surrey. I think it was, I was just on the borders of Camberley.
You were at Frimley, weren't you?
I was at Frimley and not a stone's throw away from Camberley.
Yes, well, we were a Camberley band.
Wow.
Though we were actually formed in the Three Mariners in Bagshot.
I know it.
Yep.
Yep.
That was my local boozer. That was Nicky Tesco's local boozer. And Gary Baker, the original guitarist, it was his as well. And then we purloined one of our mates' young brothers to be our drummer. He was only 15.
Yeah.
And it just worked from the moment we started playing. It just worked. It was great. We were doing the right thing at the right time. But me, in my heart, I wanted to be in the Average White Band.
Oh, that is fantastic. And I've just, I've just typed in, and a lot of people will do this as well, they're on your Google machine, about The Members, obviously on different sites and things like that. But you were the original sound of the suburbs it's got here. Is that right?
No, I had nothing to do with that track. I'd left the band by that track, but I was the original bass player. So I started the band with Nicky Testo, and I wrote most of the original material with Nicky, a lot of which survived to the first album and various B-sides and stuff. So, you know, that was my first thing. And, hey, man, we were from Camberley, you know, for Nothing happens from Camberley. Well, actually, Graham Parker and the rumour had happened.
Yes.
Graham was also used to go down the Mariners, and it personally gave me great because Graham's a great guy and he was good, and it gave me a real impetus that not anyone can do it, and it wasn't even a case of if Graham can do it, we can, but it showed you that ordinary people can get ahead. And sometimes you kind of got to dream a little bit. And we were lucky with the members. We worked really, really, really hard. And, the eventual success was kind of deserved, really.
Oh, absolutely. And what would you say to an up-and-coming sort of brand new band that are, first time sort of into a recording studio now? What sort of advice would you give a band, or an artist indeed, that are just starting their way into this sort of a crazy world that we call show business? What was the one piece of advice?
It's changed so much, Sean, from when we started. The route into it is entirely different now.
Yeah, of course.
So now it's more of get yourself a YouTube profile, record 3 or 4 good tracks, try and work the hell out of social media.
Yes.
It's so different. In the essence of it, you've got to be talented.
Of course.
You've got to believe in what you do. Belief isn't enough, but if you have a talent and you believe in it and you're prepared to put the time into it,
yes,
it's actually easier now than ever to be noticed.
Of course, yeah.
We all make a lot less money now because of the whole streaming situation.
Yeah.
But be true to yourself. The best I've worked with a lot of artists over the years, and my favourite ones are always those that are true to themselves.
Definitely.
That are not trying to be something that they think the market wants at that time, but trying to be a little bit original and sing from your heart. And that's why I love Motown and soul.
Yes.
It comes from the soul.
Oh,
and you feel it. And, Levi Stubbs, man, Marvin Gaye. Whoa, they still bring the shivers. And that's when I started remixing Motown. Well, you can get to that if you want, but
we definitely will. Because obviously I'm going to feature this track at the end of our conversation today, and obviously I'll get you to introduce it and everything. And
of course,
we'll have a chat about that in a minute. Oh, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, if you've not heard what we're sort of teasing you with at the moment, you are in for a treat. That's all I can tell you at the moment. Now, we've mentioned obviously about Graham Parker. Now, I actually have another presenter on here called Mr. Martin Belmont.
Martin Belmont, I noticed on your website, and I was so delighted. I loved all of the rumours, so I loved the Martin. I saw them play so many times, and they were so good.
Yes, they were, and he's still out there now. Martin, he still gets his guitar out every now and again, and he's still doing bits and pieces. But I know he's slowing himself down a little bit now. He's a little bit, he wants to have a little bit of time to himself, and I can't blame Martin for that. So, unfortunately, I think he's got one more show after this one, and then he's going to hang up his headphones, but I will put the guilt trip on him, and hopefully we'll get some specials from him during the year. So next year, that is.
Well, I hope you do too. And I remember Martin very well, and he was a terrific guitar player. But he was in again with Graham. It was the right people in the right place at the right time. They were mustard.
Absolutely,
they were hot.
They were definitely yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Do you know? I actually have never ever played any Rumour on here, so I'm gonna get that sorted out for next week. I'm definitely gonna play one of their tracks next week because I think it's only right and fitting that we should put some of that on because it is some really good stuff. Now, we just played Simon James or Cordy, and I think you have had a little bit of, shall we say, one-on-one with him?
Who?
Simon James? Cordy.
James Cordy?
No, Simon James.
Yes.
And he goes under the name of Cordy.
Right. Okay. I have not the faintest idea.
Oh, right, okay. Because he told me about you.
Oh, okay. He must be a mate of my mate Stevie New.
That's it. That's it, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
That's okay, buddy. No worries.
I know Stevie's listening. Hi, brother. Stevie and I are both massive Talk fans. And we could talk about Talk all night, man.
I'll tell you what, that is a great cliche. I love that. That is brilliant. I love Talk. Absolutely do. They feature quite heavily on my new wave shows that I do here.
Excellent.
Little plug there.
Oh, no, I will start listening to some. I've listened to a few shows during the week, and there's some good stuff on here, man.
Good, good, good.
And well done for keeping the faith and flying the flag for it all.
Well, that's what we're here to do. I mean, obviously, we'll try and get, really interesting people like your good self on. And what I try to do, and here we go, I'm going to put my guard down a little bit here now, is I try not to research my guests that thoroughly. So I'm really asking questions that sometimes they may be, oh, not that question again. But I'm just trying to ask questions as a sort of, not knowing an awful lot about you, Steve. So there we go. Right, so you've got into producing. We've obviously realised that you've got 40 odd years underneath your belt now. So are you any good?
Well,
Oh my
the
goodness
thing
me.
is nowadays anyone with a laptop calls themselves a producer.
Of course.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
I did the route of tape op, engineer, second engineer, then producer. It was almost like an apprenticeship.
Yes.
Does it make me any good? I don't know. I've had a few commercial successes.
Excellent.
And most people come and work with me. My biggest commercial success was with the late great Eva Cassidy.
Oh,
And
lovely.
that was in 2008.
Right.
And that was a UK number 4. That was pretty cool. But, I've worked with some cool people in the kind of smooth jazz thing.
Yes.
Bill Sharp from Shack Attack, I've done a lot of work with
Shack
over the
Attack,
years.
yeah, great
And
80s band.
I did a Shack Attack album as well.
Brilliant.
I've worked with some pretty cool people.
And obviously, the music industry has moved on, as you quite rightly said, with lots of streaming, downloads, etc. So how's that affected you as a producer? Is it got more technical, or have you sort of retrained, or are you sort of learning as you're going along? I mean, obviously, every time it's probably a learning curve.
You mean the technical side of it?
Yeah, the technical side of things.
No, I was one of those guys that when the Atari first came in '87, I think it was.
Right.
I had one straight in, and I was doing a lot of dance at the time, and I loved the idea of computers and music, and I've always followed it. So I don't have yes, I learn every day.
Yes.
Yes, I still watch tutorials on new plugins on YouTube, because I'm buying plugins constantly.
Of course.
And upping my game. So, no, I'm pretty au fait with what's going on. I run all the latest software and, I work a lot across a lot of styles as well. There's some things I'm mad on, like metal. But,
Yeah.
if Iron Maiden came to me with a large check, I'd probably say yes. But
Well, of course you would. It'd be silly not to, really, and grin and bear it, I
I'm
suppose.
a jobbing producer, dear boy. I have to earn my money.
Absolutely.
But, I get to work with lots of really cool people. I worked in the development of Corinne Bailey Ray, who was a great success from my manager, Bobby Miller.
Oh, wow.
I'm blessed to have worked with some really good people over the years.
And what is Corinne doing nowadays? Because obviously she was quite, successful. Was it latter part of the 90s, I think?
No, it was 2005, I think it was.
Yes, it was. I've just Googled her now, so, yeah.
Yeah, it was. She was amazing. I'd heard her material about 5 years before she broke, and
Yeah.
she was in a band called Helen then, and it was kind of an indie band, and she was obviously good, and Bob kept saying the singer's so good. And I remember saying at the time, when she realizes she's a soul singer, then she'll be worth maybe trying to develop.
Yes.
And I got a demo one day of a song called Like a Star. It's just her vocal and an acoustic guitar. And
Wow.
Bob said, can you do something with this? And I put a production together of it. And even though I didn't end up ultimately working on the one that went out, my string arrangement still remained, and it was a Grammy-nominated song.
That's right. I've just read that, actually, as I was listening to what you were saying there. And she won a Grammy award for Album of the Year as well. And
She was
worked
really
with-
good.
Worked
really
with Herbie
good.
Hancock as well, or on his it worked with the River, Herbie Hancock's River. So fantastic!
That's right,
There we
yeah.
go. That must be really when you've worked with someone and then obviously they go on to critical acclaim and stuff like that. That must be a real feather in your hat.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, it's always great just to see real talent get what they deserve.
Of course.
And if you play a small part in it, then that's fabulous too.
Indeed.
But there's no real justice in the business at all. Those who are most talented don't always get to the top. And when someone has got the ability, and you need a lot of luck. You know that, Sean.
You do.
need the right radio plays. All kinds of things to make a record a hit. But yeah, I live to work with talent, and whether they're unknown or whether they're known, it doesn't matter to me.
No, of course not. And sometimes it's nice to break a new artist as well.
Oh yeah,
you
man!
know.
I'm constantly looking. I still, even at my old age, still working this business, and I get excited when I hear new and original talent.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. That's what we're all about here, is obviously new bands, new artists, obviously new fresh music as well coming through.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously the late, great John Peel sort of started Target Radio, if you like, because I used to be a fan of his way back in the sort of like late 70s and obviously during the first part of the 80s anyway. I was always listening to his show late at night, and he was absolutely incredible. He used to break so many great bands and artists out there that wouldn't have got a look in anywhere else, and they went on. I mean, obviously, I'm just going to mention a Jam. Those guys would never really got any airplay if it wasn't for him. So obviously that's where Target Radio sort of really originates from. Really, John Peel, and there's not enough John Peels out there, really, to be fair.
No, he was an extraordinary man. He really stuck by his guns as far as what he wanted to play, and he was the only true independent DJ on the BBC, because everyone has a producer and everyone has playlists that they have to go to. But Peely and his producer John Walters, they just made it up. And if they liked someone, the more obscure they were, and sometimes the worse the recording, they would. First time I ever heard one of my favourite bands from the New Wave era was the Ruts.
Yes.
And the first time I ever heard In a Rut was on Peely's show.
Yes.
And I just loved that from the moment I heard it. And I've always loved the Ruts.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And there was so many great bands that come through.
Yeah, there were,
show.
man. There was so much good, whether XTC or, oh gosh, it all escapes me now. But there was a lot of good writers and good people came through that era.
Definitely.
And though my favourite era at the moment, I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, is the 80s. I'm so into 80s stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
It was when the technology changed the music, and there was a lot of variety of music. And the aforementioned Talk went from being a synth pop band to being an almost difficult jazz band by the end. But it was an extraordinary decade of music and variety of music.
It was. There was so much difference in the 80s. I mean, it started, I think, when New Wave started sort of appearing around late 70s. You had that real rich guitar sound with obviously the bass and then obviously the drums, a 3-piece or possibly even a 4-piece. And then it really developed from there. And then obviously your synthesizers got sort of like sort of brought into the latter part of the 80s. I think Blondie.
No, more earlier 80s, really.
Okay.
It was around sort of 82, 83 when the drum machine and the first sequencing synths kind of happened. And that's when the big changes in production started to happen and getting fantastic, different sounding records.
I do remember, though, back in sort of, I would say about 75, 76, when Kraftwerk first appeared on the scene. For goodness sake, what was that about? But it was absolutely, I was fixated by Kraftwerk. I thought, are these real people or are they actually robots? Because they had that robotic look, the robotic theme, and they had knitting needles and stuff like that. I mean, what was that all about, for goodness sake?
I think their PR, or whoever came up with that robotic look, they did a perfect job, didn't they? Because
absolutely.
They were what they looked like they sounded.
They did.
And I loved it because
absolutely,
it was... I've always embraced new technology. I love the idea we have new technology and we get new palettes of sounds to use. And they were making a completely different kind of music to what everyone else was making.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. And I mean, that brought in the likes of sort of Gary Newman and obviously the Human
brilliant!
League.
I love Gary. Nicest bloke in showbiz, by the way. I've met Gary a couple of times.
Wow.
Just a lovely, lovely man.
Indeed. You didn't meet him on an aeroplane, it was flying though, were you?
No, I didn't.
No, that's okay then.
No.
For those who don't know anything about Gary Newman, apparently he kept crashing. Okay, that's what we're going to say on the matter there. I don't think he flies anymore now. Or perhaps he does, I don't know.
No, I don't think he does.
No. He was great at music, not so great at flying, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm sure, obviously, I'm using that as tongue-in-cheek. It's just in case he is tuned in case he wants to sue me. I love you really, Gary. Oh my goodness me! So obviously going with the sort of 70s and 80s music, which was your sort of like thing to go to. Does any of your music, when you come into production, do you use any of that sort of sound when it comes to producing music today?
Well, yes. Well, this kind of leads into what I'm doing with my Futuro stuff.
Yes.
Which is that, yes, I mean, I can emulate pretty much any era of sound.
Fantastic.
But the sound that always fascinated me was early Motown. I absolutely adored. I'm old enough to have been a very small boy when it first hit the UK.
Wow.
And, I can remember the Supremes on Ready, Steady, Go and falling in love with these three girls. And all of the songs I loved. And then something wonderful happened when the Beatles happened at the same time. And the Beatles name-checked Motown a lot and, of course, covered Motown. And so Motown was really my first love, along with the Beatles. And then along with everything, man, from, Genesis, Steely Dan, Average White Band.
You got that in there again. You got that in there again.
Yeah, Tower of Power, Joni Mitchell, the greatest poetess, and all of these things. But my core thing was that 60s Motown sound.
Of course.
And it makes me feel happy because it reminds me of being a happy child.
Excellent.
And so I started remixing Motown, illegally bootlegging it, about 2002. I became one of the first mashup DJs.
Oh, right.
And remixers, and that's how I got stuck with the name Futuro. I used it just for one remix, and the first remix, which was a mashup of Sexual Healing and Let's Go Round Again by the Average Whites, third mention. That started going, and I started putting them out, and RuPaul, bless him, of Drag Race fame,
I know,
started blogging about me, and he has a large celebrity contingent around him, and they all started blogging about me, and I suddenly found my little website had gone ballistic.
That's always a good thing.
Ended up one day in Entertainment Weekly, which is the biggest entertainment magazine on the planet.
Wow.
On a page with the story at the top was Johnny Depp, the story at the bottom was Justin Timberlake, and I was wedged in the middle, and it said something along the lines of London producer Steve Lima and his incredible Motown remixes.
Wow.
And so my remixes of the Motown classics just started kind of going global. I've since probably remixed every single Supreme single, but I'm always looking for more. Lots of other classics. And also I've doing my original music in that style of what I call retro modern.
Yes.
Which is the retro sound, but with a modern fat end and a modern top end. Because, as a DJ, some of those early recordings are very middle frequencies. It was early technology,
Yes.
Now we've got a much better technology. And when I remix, I put in a big fat bottom end, a nice top end. I compress it nicely. And
yes.
So when you play it on the dance floor, it doesn't sound too out of step with what we're hearing from contemporary productions.
Of course, yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do with the original music as well. And I'm trying to bring the spirit of Hollandosia and Holland into my life. And I'm trying to collaborate with talented people. And it's something I'm passionate about. So the track I did with Althea Browne,
yes,
who's a UK girl. She's a girl from Ipswich. And hope she'll be listening tonight. She's an absolutely brilliant vocalist. We've got a follow-up as well coming, which I emailed you, actually.
Yes.
And I don't know if you checked it out yet.
I haven't, no.
Oh, it's another corker.
Ooh.
If I can describe the first one as one.
Brilliant. Well, we'll hear that in a few moments' time anyway, as we wrap up our interview today. But Althea Browne, I've actually been onto her website, and obviously she's on there, and what a delightful singer. My goodness me, what a powerful voice she's got as well. And it really suits this sort of Northern Soul and Motown sort of, as you say, entwined influence over the whole track. It's absolutely marvellous. When I first heard it, I like to listen to a song without any sort of scripture behind it. I just wanted to hear the song either in my headphones or just on the speakers. And straight away I thought, that's got a Northern Soul feel. Hang on a minute, there's some Motown there as well. And I mean, it was so put together nicely, mixed together. It was sort of like infused, you know, and it's absolutely fantastic. And you talk about mashups a moment or two ago. Well, that's a perfect mashup. It's brilliant. It really is good. And how did you get around that? Because obviously Motown's got a slightly, you know, it's got a steady beat, as where Northern Soul is more of a faster beat, but it sounds brilliant. How did you do that?
Oh, gosh. That's a tough question. Thanks, Sean.
That's okay, mate. No worries.
I remember sat at a piano probably about 8 years ago writing that. Just wrote the top line and the chords. I thought, oh, that's an interesting chord sequence.
Yeah.
I was, again, trying to have another Holland Dozy Holland moment and trying to write. I'm always trying to write the lost 1965 Supreme single.
Gotcha.
The one that no one ever heard,
Yes.
you know? And if that's a benchmark, that's a good benchmark. And this song popped out one night, and I've just worked it up over the years, and I actually had a couple of vocalists on it, but it didn't really work. And it was only when I met Althea this year,
Yeah.
and we hit it off straight away. And it wasn't the way I originally imagined it, but she took it over herself. And I don't know if you've seen the video, but she's fabulous on it.
Oh, she's absolutely, she's a star.
Absolutely is, and I hope you like the follow-up I've sent you, because it's another good track, and
Brilliant.
so we're going to push this. I believe that Over and Over is a really good song. I've been in the game long enough to know
Yes.
that I've had some amazing reactions from DJs,
Yes.
and I know how absolutely, utterly difficult it is to get a positive reaction from DJs that's spontaneous. And everyone I've sent it to, and I've only got limited resources to where I send,
Yeah.
has come back with absolute 100% positives.
But that is
So,
great. That is
you know,
great news.
That's a great feeling
course
in
it is.
itself, brother. It really
Absolutely.
is, you know.
I mean, obviously, I'm just reading a little bit about Althea Turner here, and it's Althea
Althea
Turner.
Browne.
Althea Browne.
Turner was...
Althea Turner, where was I reading that? Althea Browne, I know I'll get that wrong. Okay, so she can range between soul, jazz, Motown, blues, and contemporary music. She's actually available, get this, ladies and gentlemen, for weddings, birthdays, private occasions, corporate events, and special events. Obviously, once the COVID has lifted, she's your lady. Come on, you will have a great time booking her. Okay, this is not one of these radio shows where we just get an artist on and then we just plug her, but I'm going to plug her because she's absolutely fantastic, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you know, she does a really good show.
Yes.
And all of the artists that live on the Algarve, they rely on tourists for
Yes.
their people they play to. This year has been absolutely awful for the obvious reasons.
Of course.
Althea has been hit really, really hard. And when I found Althea, she hadn't recorded for a few years. And this is what I love about what I do, Sean. I found Althea, you know, let's say towards the end of her career,
Yes.
was in a hiatus, let's say.
Yeah.
And then when we met and we hit it off straight away, and she got a few of the things I was writing, played her a few tracks, and including Over and Over.
Yes.
And we just, as soon as we started recording, we knew we had something. There was a real compliment. She complimented the songs I was writing.
Indeed.
And it's really helped her as a person, as it's helped me as a person, that we're doing things that people appear to be really liking.
That
It's
is
a good,
great, though.
good feeling, you know.
Indeed, that is really good news. I mean, obviously, with your, background and history, and obviously your expertise in production, and obviously her fantastic voice. And I'm going to say this one more time, ladies and gentlemen. She has got a really good voice. You'll hear it in a minute, and you'll see what I mean. If you haven't already heard it, you're in for a treat. That's all I can say. Now, go over to her site, which is altheab.com, and you can obviously /music if you wish. You'll see loads about her on there, loads of great pictures, and she absolutely looks stunning as well. What a beautiful lady she looks, and what a beautiful voice to match. And the Over and Over video is on there as well, so yeah, click on it, go and do it, but not now. Don't do it now, because I'm going to play it in a minute, and we're going to get the production person behind it to actually put his finest DJ voice on. And he knows what I've done there. Your finest DJ voice to
I
announce
can do
it.
that, brother.
Oh, look at that, sultry and
radio.
sexy. There we go. The love of Doctor is in the house. Now, just before we do that, obviously, Steve, if people want to get hold of you to get the Steve Lima experience, obviously for some production, for music that they've written, they've done some sort of basic recording, but want to get it how can we say, another level? How do we do that?
Well, actually, that's a very good question because I'm not a great social media person, but email me really at Futuro1 FUTURO numeral 1 at mac.com.
There it is.
And that'll get to me.
Brilliant.
But I've got a YouTube channel which I'd really like to plug, which is called Futurosonic, and that's where all of my remixes are. I've had getting close to 3 million plays on it now.
Wow.
And I can always use new subs, but it's going really, really well.
Indeed.
And you can see all my mixes there, and plus all of basically the Futurosonic releases. That's my label that's released over and over.
Wow.
And we've got a lot of other stuff coming up on the label.
That's
coming up.
Brilliant stuff.
A lot in the old retro soul vibe.
Indeed, yeah, obviously going back to the
And,
60s.
and I've got some 45s coming next week, mate.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, 7-inch 45s. 40 years ago was the last time I had a record out on vinyl. That was on factory records.
Wow. Now, if people aren't old enough to know what we're actually talking about, that's a black thing. Usually it's black. And, I'll tell you what, I actually done this with my children. This makes me feel very, very old. This is going back a couple of years now. They do know now what a record looks like. But when I actually put a record on, they went, "What's that, Daddy?" And I went, "It's a record." And I thought, am I that old? They were amazed when I flipped it over and I had another a song on the other side. What was that all about? My goodness me! But it's fantastic. Where did you used to buy your records from?
Oh, well, in Camberley, it was. I think it went into Tower Records, but it used to be a little record shop there back in the 60s. Really,
was that along the A30?
I love record shops. I could spend hours in them. I'd read all the names of the writers and the producers and the engineers and the publishers.
That's it.
You know, and just take it all in. I always was obsessed with music. Always.
And you and me both. Yeah, there was a little one where I grew up in Hayes in Middlesex. That's where I was born, and we had a little one in Hayes Town, and I used to go in there pretty much with my pocket money each and every week, and used to buy the stuff that was out at the time, Prince or something from the Jam or whatever, and then I used to have about 50-60p left over, and he used to say, "Well, do you want to use that money and have a lucky dip?" And I went, "Okay." I did, and the lucky dip really was a barrel full of sawdust. And he used to have records or tapes in it. So I always used to go for the records. I love records. And I remember pulling one out with a picture of a whale on it. And I thought, what the hell is this? And I never played it for years. Angry Anderson. Do you remember him?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Yes.
I do.
I've still got it.
He had one hit, didn't he?
Yeah, and I've got that.
Yeah.
I was the only one that bought it for 50
Was it
or
on
60p.
the album, though?
I don't know. This is just a 7-inch that I got. And Angry Anderson, I thought, well, that's just really made me angry. I just wasted 50 or 60p, whatever it was back then, on this record. Actually, it's a really, really good record. And like you said, it was a one-hit wonder. And I think he only sold one. And I think he sold it for about 50 or 60p. And I was the one that bought it. But no, going back to records and that, records are absolutely marvellous. I love playing records. Unfortunately now, because obviously doing what we do here, everything's on a WAV or an MP3, and it just tidies everything up, other than having loads of records scattered around and things like that. But it's fantastic. So 7-inch pieces of vinyl coming your way. That's fantastic.
And I'll
news.
be trying to promote them in any way to try and sell them.
No problems at all.
I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. No idea. I like doing all the music. I even do the videos. But marketing and selling of music is so tiring.
Indeed.
It's just not my gig, man.
No worries at all. If you can help our lovely fellow out, Steve, there, if you know someone, or indeed you are some sort of whiz along with the internet, and you can help Steve out, shift these pile of 7 inches out, get in contact with him on the...
I've had a lot of response from DJs on Instagram, which I actually don't understand, and I'm fairly social media savvy. I just don't get what it's about, man.
I can't work it out myself. I mean...
No.
I'm on Instagram.
But I am getting DJs saying, we want a 7-inch 45 of this. So that's why I did them. So,
no.
We'll see what happens.
I've no idea. I mean, apparently it's all about taking pictures and putting some captions in. And I took some pictures of my snow this week, and it got loads and loads of likes. And I thought, Wow, is that how you do it? I really don't understand it. I mean, obviously with Facebook, you can pretty much put anything up. Facebook's my go-to. Obviously, I'm on Twitter as well. And I'm sure you are. Yeah, you are there. You're at Steve Lima 1 on Twitter. There we go. I've just found you there.
Oh, no, that's an old account, actually. I can't even get into anymore. Which
Scrap that one then. That's it. We'll bleep that one out. No one's listening anyway. Don't worry.
No, I am on there as Futurosonic. It's a kind of label account.
Perfect,
really.
lovely. And LinkedIn, or LinkedIn if you want to. I think you're there as well, actually. I can see you on there. Whether you use it or not, I don't know.
No, I didn't know I'm on there. I've no idea. See, that's the trouble. People start making sites about you.
I've just clicked in onto it now, and yes, you are there.
Like
but
Discogs.
Yes, Discogs, you're on there as well. There we go.
Yeah.
You're the president of Futurecom Limited. Is that you? No, that's not you.
No, it's not me.
There we go. How about that? That's really iron.
Well, that's another one.
There's another one with Futurecom. Right.
That's a bit weird.
Are we Stephen Lima? Ah, there you go. See, it's so difficult, isn't it?
That's quite close, though. And
very. And we've got Steve Lima here, who lives in Coventry. Best place
for
that one.
Definitely not in Coventry.
No,
I can promise you that.
No, you haven't upset anybody.
No, I haven't. Very good.
There we go. My respects to anyone that lives in Coventry today, and I've got some cousins that live in Coventry.
Yeah,
so
no,
hello.
Coventry's a very nice place. Nice cathedral.
Actually, you're right there. Yes, I've seen it myself many times. So, anyway, enough of all of that. Right. So, obviously, on with the what you're here for really is this brilliant single that is out now, ladies and gentlemen, and we will have some 7-inch singles as well from next week. So, stay tuned here at Target Radio, and obviously check out our page as well, which is Target Radio, live page for presenters and listeners, and hopefully, if some social media, buffoonery I think we could use. Hopefully we'll get some pictures from yourself, Steve, and we'll post them up with obviously some details on how you can purchase them, and then obviously Steve will start sticking stamps on envelopes and things and getting them posted out. I think that's
Quite
the way forward.
literally. Yes, I will be.
Or we can get sticky ones now as well, I believe, which is a lot better for your tongue. So we're looking forward to those pictures, and obviously we'll get all of the details from yourself a bit later. That'd be great. Right, okay, on with it then. Right, so I want you to announce this brilliant record. Just before we do that, though, you mentioned that you wrote this about 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I have to say I wrote the music and I co-wrote the lyric with a wonderful young composer called Lauren Cumberpatch, also known as Lauren Lamont, who's a darling of the house scene.
Yes.
And I found her as an 18-year-old writer, and she's got a great way with lyrics. So some of the lines in there are Lauren's lines, but it was essentially my song.
Indeed. And it is the 3-minute brilliance of a great song. I mean, obviously the proper radio, length as well.
Radio length,
It is a radio length of 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, so it goes on any platform, but obviously on Target Radio, we don't care if it's 3 minutes or 33 minutes. We play them here, and that's what we do. We play unsigned and sometimes signed as well. It doesn't matter, but we play new and fresh, exciting music. Now, this song is brilliant. I love the music, and obviously it does take you down a sort of a historical sort of journey as well, obviously with the music and everything else. I mean, obviously with the song as well, just before we play it, we're teasing here by the way, what was your vision for the song as it sort of all came together, obviously with Miss Browne playing, singing on the actual track?
As I said, I wanted it to sound like a lost 65 Supreme single.
Fantastic.
With the brass, the strings, and also the structure of the way that Holland Dozier and Holland would write.
Gotcha.
If that doesn't sound pretentious, or I just wanted to spark the memory of that era, because for me it's such a happy era.
Indeed.
And also, even though it's a song of losing somebody, I guess, it's kind of a song of hope. Althea gives such a great performance on it, and spunky performance.
Yes.
She's a lady not to be messed with, and it was actually written about a breakup of one of my relationships a few years ago.
Okay.
So actually all good songs hopefully come from personal experience. You should write from your personal experience?
Well, do you know, I've actually previewed a couple of albums just this year, and one of them is actually a live. It's actually one of these sort of story-lined albums, and is a musical journey, and it's magical as well. I won't plug it now because obviously we've done it so many times, but it was absolutely fantastic. One of the greatest albums I've heard in a long, long time, and I do listen to a lot of music, and it's great because it takes you on that journey, as you say. So I do like a song that's got meaning and story, and whether it's a good, bad story or a sad or a happy ending, it's still a story. And I tip my hat to anyone that can A, write music, and B, put it into a lyrical form. But more importantly, my goodness me, I'm just in awe of actual songwriters that can actually write an experience and put it to music. My goodness me, that must be absolutely marvellous to do that.
Well, the next track, the one I've sent you, Love Is Not a Switch, was written about me having my heart broken this year, so...
Oh, no!
It doesn't change.
Oh, for goodness sake.
It's another She Left Me song.
Oh,
I swear to you, Sean, I'm writing only happy songs from the rest of the year. I've only got happy songs on the go at the moment.
Perfect, lovely. And what's your sort of future plans then? Obviously, we've got this new one coming out very shortly, but obviously this one we're going to be playing in a second. So what you got for the new year? Anything exciting?
It's very exciting. I'm building a studio at the moment here in Portugal. I've got some fantastic partners. There's so much exciting things happening in my life. I still get up every day and I'll work on a song.
Excellent.
And that's what I do. I'm so lucky to have been paid to do what I would do for free. Really.
No, don't tell them that.
It's what I do on my days off. Though occasionally, I will admit, live on public radio, that I do occasionally play a game of Football Manager when I'm not producing music.
Well, you've got to have a little breaky poo here and there. That's all I will say. And you never did say that you would do it for nothing, okay? He does it for a high reward, but you do get high quality on the way back.
Sometimes, you get high rewards, and that can be great. And sometimes you work for less for artists that you believe in and you want to see further their careers.
Absolutely.
But, the truth is, on my days off, which I rarely get, I'll go and work on a bloody song.
Why not?
Sometimes, I've got so much music in me, and I just like it to come out.
Now, who sung that song, I've Got the Music in Me? Anyway, enough said about that.
That was Kiki D.
It was indeed. Oh, my goodness me. I'm really showing my age now. Oh, for goodness sake.
You're younger than me, Sean, so don't come that way.
Oh, I love you already, Steve. Right, okay, enough of the malarkeying about. Get on with the job in hand. Clear your throats, ladies and gentlemen, and obviously, get your fingers in your ears, give them a good old shake so your ear holes are really wide open. And I'm going to hand over the reins now. I'm just going to say thank you very much indeed for my guest this evening and taking some time out and obviously having a chinwag with me about everything and anything. Some things are very, very important, and some things not so important, but we had a chat about them anyway. Steve, the floor is yours, but just thank you very much indeed, my friend, and have a great Christmas and obviously exciting New Year by the sound of it. And I'm going to hand over to you now. Introduce this fine piece of music, please.
Yes, but not before thanking you, Sean, for having me on and taking
welcome.
the time. And it's been absolute fun.
Indeed, thank you.
So this is my new single under the name of Future 01 featuring Althea Browne, and it is called Over and Over.
Thank you, Steve. And one of these is yours. And we'll see you again soon, my friend. Thank you very much.
Oh, cookie.
Yes?
We really love that cookie.
Thank you.
So after that one cookie, we make 2, then 3, then 4.
Yeah.
Cookie, me no longer just a rookie. Cause once we ate one cookie.
And that's all we got time for this evening.
Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.
Time to run.
It is.
Long farewell.
Goodbye.
I'll be there saying good night.
Yes, it's good night. Thank you very much for your company. Ta-da then. Don't forget the guest list is on after me.
Do I get my bag?
Very soon.
Mom goes the bee.
Thank you very much to Steve Lima.
Street.
What a wonderful guest he was.
Come to start off the tree.
Carl Morris was with us next week. And we're back, yes. And what did you think of that for an interview? Wasn't it great? We found out so much. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for joining us for the Target Radio podcasts. I am your pod father. That is me, Cookie. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes if you can, please. If you think we deserve it, 5 stars, please. It does help with the future of Target Radio. Check out all of our great shows here on Target Radio. And as I say, please, please, please support local artists and the Unsigned Band. Until next time, thank you very much indeed. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.